Just like that, we are back with another episode of Unmuted. I want to thank you for tuning in to season 4, episode number 3 of Unmuted. So before I get started and I start doing too much talking, could you please let me know if you can hear me properly? If somebody can give me a thumbs up in the comments to let me know that you can hear me, you can see me, and everything is flowing pretty good. Thank you all that are tuning in thus far, and for those of you that will tune in later in the broadcast. Unmuted. What is unmuted? Unmuted is my baby. Unmuted was birthed during a time that I felt muted. Life had me muted. We all go through different things in our lives. I like to call them life shifts because life happens. We have situations, we have relationships, whether it be family relationships, friend relationships, intimate relationships, whatever church relationships, whatever the relationship itself may be, life happens to us all. And certain things in our life can tend to stifle us. So I took the things that I had gone through and I had grown through, and I want to help other people get through those things. It was a time in my life when I would often question God and ask God, why me? Why me? Why me? Why did I have to go through the divorce? Why did I have to be adopted? Why am I having mommy issues? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? And when I received my answer, I came to the place where I stopped asking God, why me? And I started saying, why not me? See, the things that happen to us in our life aren't meant for us to just go through, grow through, and keep to ourselves because someone else along the way is going through, or has gone through, or will go through those very same things. And if we let life mute us, life calls us to get in a stuck state, we would never move past that particular situation. And it will hinder us in the rest of our life. It will hinder the purpose that God has for our life. It could hinder what God has left for us to do. So it's meant for us to grow through the things that we go through and help someone else get through those things, the very same things. That kind of that mentality when you go up a ladder, you bring someone else up a ladder behind you. You can't really take a step and then pull someone up because that will stifle you. But if you go up that ladder, if you make it up the ladder and you reach back down and you pull someone up, see, you know what it takes to get up that ladder because you made it up yourself. It's the same concept. And that's what Unmuted is all about. Some of the situations and the topics that we talk about are things that are personal to me, that I've gone through personally. And this is another way of me unmuting myself by talking about it because life will have us embarrassed about the things that we've gone through, and we keep them to ourselves, and that causes us to be in a stuck state. And also there are topics that we discuss on Unmuted that individuals have gone through. They have not yet come to themselves what they want to discuss it themselves, so they allow me to tell their story and talk about their story for them until they're able to talk about it themselves. But it gives them some sort of relief to get it out with at least one person. And then I bring on several different guests on every episode. I do try to bring on a guest, and I feel that no one can talk about you better than you can talk about you because you know you better than anyone else does. And that's what Unmuted is all about, talking about it, getting it out, being a source and being a resource. So there are different guests that come on. They have literature, they've written books, they may be influencers, they may, they, whatever capacity that they're in, I like them to come on and talk about their story, tell their story, what's intimate to them, what they feel that they need to get a release from because it's helping someone else. And also, we may discuss and we may dialogue from their different books and whatnot. Well, tonight's topic is being a mom with mommy issues, beating the odds. I have a special guest that's coming on tonight. Her name is Kindra Trawick. She's from Dothan, Alabama. She lives in Dothan, Alabama. Now, Kendra is um, she is a powerhouse. She really is. She's a great speaker, great woman of God. Kendra has she is raising two children. She's written a book. It is called Painkillers. We will put the painkillers, putting the purpose over the pain. We'll discuss a little bit about her book as she comes on, and we'll jump into a little bit of that. But Kendra is also now a YouTube influencer and TikTok influencer. She goes by just Kendra. She does beauty on a budget. She's very good. Check her out. Um, you would definitely like to, especially ladies. You like fashion, beauty on the budget. It's great. While we're waiting on our guests to come in, I did want to start the show with just kind of diving into the topic. Um, Mommy issues. I know this. I know this all too well. Being adopted is, which is something that I don't and I have not talked about publicly. I really don't talk about it. So a lot of people that know me, a lot of people didn't know that I was adopted. But I was adopted at 18 months old, and my sister that just recently passed, we were adopted together. She was 6 weeks old. Now that really shaped my life. I did have the opportunity. I was blessed with the opportunity to actually go back and live with my biological mother. But until that time, and even just to be honest and transparent, up into now, I've had mommy issues. So this topic tonight is very dear to me as well because I know about being a mom, attempting to be a mom, and struggling with the relationship you have with your mom. A lot of the things that I've done in my life, and even in raising my child, because of the way I was raised, it's why I raised my child the way that I did. And that happens with parents, and that's usually what they do. We pull back from our upbringing, but when you haven't necessarily had the best of an upbringing, it really weighs on you. You're learning. As parents, we learn as we go, but when you may not have that proper example to pull from, it's just a little bit different trying to raise a child when you struggled in that area. um and Kendra has gone through some of the very same things. Recently, someone on Facebook made a post about parents being there for your children, supporting your children, being at their athletic games or whatever it is that whatever that it is they participate in, because it matters. And rarely do I reply on certain things, but this particular time I did reply and I said, yes, it matters. It hurts the child more than the parent will ever know. I've had several people ask me, why was I always at things dealing with my son? Well, because I knew what it was like to not have anyone there. I knew what it was like not to have your mother at your basketball games. I knew what it was like not to have your mother at track meets. And especially when you were a top athlete, or you were in the choir or whatever it was that you were in. I knew what it was like not to have a parent there. And it weighed on me. Now, as I got older, as I became an adult, I didn't let it make me bitter. I let it make me better. And oftentimes that doesn't happen. We can tend to hold so tightly on what hurt us that we can't get past that. And that thing can mute you. That's a part of muting. That's a part of being stuck in a situation. If you can't let go of the hurt, if you can't let go of the pain, because that's tied to trauma. If you can't let go of that, then it's going to cause you to have, it's going to affect every relationship and everything that you do beyond that point. I let it make me better. See, I feel like you can learn something from anyone. Just say on a job. You can learn a valuable lesson from a bad boss, just like you can learn a valuable lesson from a good boss. The lesson you learn from a bad boss is you know what not to do. Now, I'm not going to call my parents bad parents or good parents. I'm going to leave that alone. We won't touch that. But what I will say is I knew how I didn't want to raise my child because of the things that I had gone through in my past. So it gave me a drive to be there, to want to be there, to make sure he didn't lack. See, I remember, just like that post said, I remember no one being there to cheer me on. I remember no one being there every time I was on the podium. I remember not having that support system. So instead of it making me bitter, I allowed that to make me be a better parent to my child because the cycle has to break somewhere. We can't worry about what we didn't get because that'll cause us to stay in a stuck state. But what we can do is learn from that and let it make us a better person. See, if I had held on to all those things that I had gone through in my life, it would have stifled my growth. That chain wouldn't have been broken. I would have been so stuck in what was done to me that I couldn't get past it and I couldn't raise my child the way he needed to be raised. I couldn't raise, and I'm not saying I'm the perfect parent, but I tried to be the best parent that I could possibly be. And that's what it's all about. It's about being your best self, putting your best self out there so we can groom the best child that we can possibly groom. Because life is going to happen. Now, I will say this. I didn't grow up in the ideal situation, but I like to pay homage to my biological parent, and I like to pay homage to, rest her soul, my adoptive mother. See, my adoptive mother was older when I was younger. And I like to tell people that I got old raising. I got old raising because a lot of the things I wasn't able to do that my friends at that particular time they were able to do because I had an older mother. So I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. Sometimes I got made fun of because my clothes were this, and yes, I wore hand me downs because she had 5 children of her own that were a lot. Some of them were already grown, and we wore this and we wore that. But I've always been that person. I'm gonna make the best of what I have. I'm gonna make the best of it. Whatever I have, I'm going to make the best of it, and I didn't complain about it, but it gave me grounding. That relationship that gave me the grounding and the foundation that I needed. And when I did finally live with my biological mother, I pay homage to her as well because see, I learned how to survive. The things that we went through, the situations were not ideal situations. They weren't good situations. They really weren't. Now I'm not going to talk about it here, but just wait on the book, but it taught me how to survive because the things that I went through as a teenager and we survived and we made it through as an adult. I've been on my own since I was 17. As an adult, it taught me how to make it. So between the grounding and the foundation that I received from my adopted mother and the go getter and the being able to survive and get it by any means necessary that I got from my biological mother, it shaped me into the woman that I am now. It gave me a different kind of work ethic. It gave me a different kind of foundation. It gave me a different kind of grounding. See, it's not about what happened to you that was bad, it's what you make of that situation. So we have to learn how to find the good in anything that we do. Now, it's hard. I'm not going to say that it's not, because you got to learn how to get past your trauma. And that's the grow through part. See, we go through the things in life, but we have to grow through them. And I know that it's not always easy. I've battled with, I've battled with depression, and I didn't know that I was battling with depression. I didn't realize how much the relationship or the lack thereof with my mother really affected me. But it did. It muted me to the place where I wasn't able to talk about her. See, some people don't know that I was, because I had to get past that, because it was so sensitive. There was so much hurt there that I wasn't able to discuss those things. So whereas people, oh, she this, it's not that I was embarrassed about it. I was just still hurt. It was some things that I had to get through. I had to grow through. I had to go through myself and then grow through, because I wanted to be better, because I wanted to be a better parent, and I wanted to be the best parent that I could be. That was my motivation. We have to learn to pull from something. What's your pull? What's pulling at your coattail? Because there's hope in all things. There's a glimpse of hope. There's light in all things that we do. Find that hope. Find that thing that motivates you to make you come up out of that depression, to make you come up out of that oppression. Yes, the situation is bad. My situation was bad. Yes, it was. Recently, my baby sister and I, we had a conversation about this recently, and I didn't realize at the time how much, actually, I didn't realize until a few weeks ago how much it affected her as well, because we didn't talk about it. We went through it, but we didn't talk about it. And we came up in a time where what went on in your house, it stayed in your house. So people didn't know we didn't have running water in our house. People didn't know that. On the surface, it looked like everything was okay. But people didn't know we didn't have food to eat. On the surface, it looked okay. Sometimes my only meal that I got was at school. People didn't know that. And people are so quick to judge you by the exterior, and they don't really understand what's going on the interior. And then you wonder why certain people are the way they are. Have you ever sat back and looked at someone and really wondered why they are the way that they are? Well, why does he act the way that he acts? Why does she act the way that she acts? Why does he have that drive? Why does she have that push? See, we only know on the surface of what people want us to know. But it's an underlying and a root cause to what everyone does. It just is. And people only, even on social media, people only tell you what they want you to know. Sometimes people only tell you what they can handle at that particular time. And that goes for any individual. And coming up, and looking now, being a mom, and while dealing with mommy issues and beating the odds of that, that's not just Kendra's story. That's not just my story. That's a lot of stories. There are a lot of women that are working hard at being the best mom that they can be while dealing with mommy issues. We're not going to even talk about the daddy issues because that's not tonight's topic. while dealing with their own issues, their own insecurities, their own embarrassments, their own deep depressions, their own lack of relationships and trying to find love in all the wrong places. Everyone has a story. What's your story? And are you going to move past your story? Are you going to beat the odds? So life happened to me more than one time, but I wanted better more than I wanted to be bitter. And that was one of my prayers. It had been one of my prayers for a long time. See, I looked at the women in my family, mostly in my biological family. I didn't want to be bitter. I didn't want to be cynical. I didn't want to be spiteful. I didn't want to be all the things that I saw around me. I wanted to be better. And when you want to be better, you can't worry about the people around you and what they did to you. You have to do the work on yourself. Now, I'm not Miss Ayana. I'm fix my life. But that's real. That is real. You can't worry about everyone else when you're trying to be better. Sometimes you have to pull away. Sometimes you have to leave people behind. People will show you who they are and you believe them. Sometimes you have to leave people behind to be your best self. I lost a lot of relationships along the way because I wanted to be something that I didn't see around me. I wanted to have something that I didn't see around me. I wanted to raise my child in a way that was different from the way I was raised. And I don't knock the way anyone else raises their children. I just wanted to be the best mother that I could be, the way I needed to be. The love that I didn't get, I wasn't bitter about it. I poured it into my child. And that's what we do. That's how we become better parents. That's how we beat the odds. Because these children are needing someone. Right now, social media raising the children. Right now, love and hip hop, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube are raising kids. They're doing what they see someone else do. And I'm seeing more often now that the parents are doing the same thing they see other people do as well. But if we want to leave a legacy for our children, why not let it be our legacy instead of someone else's legacy? That's beating the odds. That's dealing with our issues. We have to deal with us and get ourselves together, deal with the root cause. Okay, you may not get that apology, it may never happen, or you may get it 20 years later. But if you don't, you have to be okay. See, I know what it's like to not be okay, but everything around me and everyone around me thought that I was okay because we have a face for everything. But when you get home and you take off that mask and you're only looking at yourself, how are you feeling about yourself? Are you happy with you? Are you happy with the person that you are? Are you happy with the relationships that you are surrounded by? Are you happy with the parent that you are? Ladies, are you happy with the parent that you are? Are you happy being the mom that you are? Are you putting everything in that you can put in? Or are you letting those issues that relationship issue? Is that relationship issue causing you to be bitter towards your child? Because you're not with the father anymore. And every time you look at the child, you see the father, and now you're ill towards your baby. Are you so caught up in what your mom or your father did to you that you can't see you're doing the same thing to your child? That's not beating the odds. We have to learn how to beat the odds. We have to do the work on ourselves to be the best person that we can be, so we can raise the best children that we can raise. And nobody's going to do the work for us. I'm sorry. It may not be a popular topic, but that's just real life. And that's what UnMuted is. It's real life. The things that we may go through in our secret places, in our own homes, the things that are running through our own minds that we really don't want to face. At some point, you will have to. At some point, you're going to have to deal with you. At some point, you're going to have to let those issues go. I know one of the things about Kindra is she made a comment and she made a post. Someone was having a problem living with their parents living with them or their mother living with them. And I know she stated that she wished her mother was alive so she could live with her. You may take one thing for granted on this side, but someone else is praying and wish they had what you have because they have a void. Being grateful in all things, for all things, being mindful for all things and in all things, putting our best self forward because we only get this one life. How do you want to live it? Do you want to live it being bitter? Do you want to live it being stuck? Do you want to live it being muted? Do you want to live it being so full of hate and bitterness that you can't be happy for anyone else because really you're not happy with yourself? It happens. And because we don't look at ourselves, we don't see that we are the man in the mirror. What we're talking about, we really are. It's time to beat the odds. It's time to deal with our issues. And we may have to do it while we're raising the kids. We may have to re-raise ourselves and relearn some things while we're raising our children. But it's all right. It's all about the doing. It's all about being. It's all about making it through. It's about beating the odds, being better. It's meant for every generation to be better than the next. Our ceiling is supposed to be our children's floor. However high we go, it's meant for them to go higher. But we have to do the work. We have to instill it. It has to start somewhere. We have to break the chain so we can put the proper links together. That's beating the odds. Now, I've talked um, here about more than what I was intending to talk about while we're waiting on our guest to come in. But I'm going to go to some of the comments. Um, we have several We have several on my other platform. So I'm running two different platforms. But I know what it's like to be hurting and not have anyone to confide in, or feel like you don't have anyone to confide in because you're embarrassed about your situation and you don't want to be made to feel worse. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be so wound up that you don't know how to unwind. And that's not a good place to be in. That's tension. That can be deadly because that's how you lose yourself. That's how we lose ourselves. And that's how we lose our children. We're losing our children because we haven't dealt with our own mess. And our children are going through their mess and they don't know how to cope with it. They don't know how to deal with it because they weren't taught how to deal with it and they didn't see how to deal with it. And we wonder why they're drinking more. We're wondering why they're smoking more. We wonder why they're doing every new drug that comes on the market. They're not, they don't know how to cope. They don't have the capacity for it because they haven't seen it. It's our place, it's our job to give that to them. We should be the influence. We're supposed to be the influence because they were our children. They are ours. Even if they weren't planned, they're ours. And if we want our children to do better, to be better, then we have to be better. We have to deal with our mess so we can teach them how to deal with theirs. You want your child to get off the street? You want your child to stop hanging around all of those friends? Be there. Simply be there. You may not care about whatever it is they have an interest in. That may not be your thing, but support them. Support them. You may want them to get a college education. They may want to get a trade. Support them. Support them in what it is they want to do. We can't live through them, so we have to live our own lives. And that causes another problem because oftentimes there are parents that try to live their life through their children because they weren't able to do certain things. They try to push it on the child. That's not our life. That's not our life. That's their life. We can guide them as much as we can, but if they don't want to take the route or do the things that was our dream or our vision for our life, we can't force the hand on them. Support them in what it is they want to do. And if that's something that you really want to do, work for it. See, I had this thing when my son was young. I would say, and I still feel this way. Just because I had a child doesn't mean I can't reach the goals that I had set for myself. Some people say, oh, I gave up this or that because I had children. If that's what you choose to do, then that's what you choose to do. But I'm a firm believer in I can reach my goals and obtain my goals and push my child towards their goals too. I just believe in that. And when my child sees me pushing forward to reach the goals that I've set for myself, in turn, it'll make them want to strive harder for theirs. That's life. That's what it's all about. Getting past our issues, dealing with our issues, even if we are already the parent. No, life may not go the way we wanted it to go. We may get diverted a little bit. The path may digress a little bit, but it can come around full circle. And if you had to put it off because you had children, at some point you'll be able to pick it up again if you really want it. If you really want it. We deal with the issues the way they needed to be dealt with. We raise the children to the best of our ability. And we walk in the purpose that we're supposed to walk in. The odds can be beat. We can beat the odds. We can save our children. We can get our life. We don't have to be stuck. We can unmute. Because every day that you wake up, it's another opportunity to get it right. It's another opportunity to start over. If you're watching it right now and you're dealing with mommy issues and you're already a mom, it's not over for you. Maybe the relationship with your mom right now is not the best. And it's not at the place, and you're not at the place where you can fix it. But you can start being the best mom that you can be. And you can work on you. It will all work out. And I am a witness to that. At my sister's funeral in April, my mom apologized to me and my sister, my younger sister. It was an apology that I wasn't expecting to get. See, I let it go a long time ago. I laid that hurt down. I forgave her a long time ago. And I wasn't expecting an apology. I had moved past it. And I was okay if I never got an apology because I needed to be the best me that I could be because I wanted to raise the best child that I could raise. So it might have taken 23 years for her to come to herself. But that was something that I wasn't looking for. It's all God's timing. It all works out the way He wants it to work out. See, I was healed. I don't believe that apology that she gave was 100% for me. She got released in that as well. I hate that it took my sister passing, but God's time is not our time. His ways are not our ways. You don't want that to be your case. So when you hear things like that, it happens because it happened in my family. It happened with me. Our guest is coming in, we want to welcome Kindra Trawick. Hey, love, how are you?
I am good. I'm good. Running, but good.
That's okay. That's okay. So I did a little more talking than I had anticipated doing. Um, but you know what? I think I needed that. So
See, that's
everything
how it is.
happens for a
That's how
reason.
it is.
So listen, I really dove into the topic of um, being a mom with mommy issues and beating the odds. And we have two completely different stories. Our lives are completely different. You have a story. I do have your book here. I mentioned it, but I didn't show it. You know I'm a support. I support, honey.
Listen. When you said, I know a little bit of your story. We have completely different. You held of the book. I'm like, yeah, that's chapter one.
Yeah, yeah. I mentioned something a little earlier, and I've said this a couple of times on my show. And in your book, you said, I question God. I know I'm not the only one that has said, God, why me? I could have just took off when I read that because I often say that. That was one of my, I used to pray all the time, God, why me, why me, why me? Until he finally gave me that why me answer, and then I started saying, why not me? Well, enough about me. I want you to, let's come in and let's talk about this being a mom with mommy issues. And I want you to start because a lot of people know you. You are a TikTok influencer now. Of course, I put that out there. Is it 100,000 yet? It's 100,000, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, don't be bashful now.
yeah,
Um, Beauty on the budget. I did talk about it, but and I know I want you to talk. I know you're very transparent. You are
yeah,
very transparent. One
yes,
of your issues with um being a mom and your mommy issues was your mother's addiction
yes,
and her passing before she could see you being a mom.
yes.
Talk about that.
So, so me growing up, always my mother wasn't a mother that actually like left the home. She would stay in the home. Like she was a person that had an addiction, but she was never not present. So if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, her addiction didn't take her outside to where like she was missing for days or anything like that. However, she was actually present, but with the addiction, it caused a lot of disconnect. It caused a lot of dysfunction.
Hmm.
So, with me growing up with my mother died when I was 28 years old. I had my first child at 31 years old. So I was there literally and saw my mama take her last breath that we didn't even know she was going to be taking that day. So with me becoming a mother with mother issues, I had began to, first of all, the pain of becoming a mother and being like, okay, what do I do, right? Like if the baby's sick, who do I call? Like if this happens, you know what I'm saying? And then
Hmm.
thinking about the fact that okay, like my children don't have a grandmother on their side of the family. So
Hmm.
I had all of these things in my mind, like, because I mean, a grandmother gives you safety, a grandmother gives you that security, and a grandmother gives you that reassurance. It doesn't matter what happened. Like when you go to grandma's house, you might not like it over there, it might be hot, but that's grandma. You know, if ain't nobody else
Hmm.
gonna love you, nobody's gonna take up for you, like you are the world to your grandmother. So for me, becoming that and still having those issues and still dealing with abandonment myself, what I have begun to do, and now my children are 4 and 3, and I realized that I was trying to overcompensate as a mother, and I was like kind of allowing them to do a lot. And one day God told me one day, He said, Kendra, you can't be so busy trying to give them what you wanted that you're
Hmm.
not who they need.
Right.
And I was like, hold up, God, what you mean by that? He was like, just what I said. You can't be so busy trying to be a good mom
Hmm.
or like the mom that you always desire, because your
Hmm.
destiny, their destiny are totally two different paths. So you can't be trying to overcompensate for the absence of your mother by trying to be over present with your children.
Hmm.
and give
Okay,
credit.
so I want to take a pause there because just a few minutes prior, before you actually came on, I said something of the same. Oftentimes, we try to pretty much live through children. We want them to be or do what we wanted instead of
Yes,
letting them live their own and go their own path.
yes.
And I noticed that it happens more, especially I think in maybe our generation and our parents' generation. We would give our children everything that we didn't have because we didn't have it,
Hmm.
and that is the overcompensation. But it when they don't do what we want them to do or they're not doing it, it's because they don't have that fortitude that we really had, because we
Exactly.
know what it was like not to have, and we know what it, because we didn't want them to go through that, we kind of stifle them
Exactly.
trying to give them everything.
Hmm.
There has to be a balance there. Go ahead.
I agree. No. I was gonna say that I agree 100%. So, even even with that, it's like you can't. If you do so much, the kids will not even desire a relationship with God, because
Mm-hmm.
why go to God when I can go to mommy? You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like,
That was good.
why do this? And so it's like I had to realize that my children wouldn't even really consider a relationship with God. They may watch what I do and repeat it. They may think that prayer is good because they saw mommy do it. But if
Mm-hmm.
they think that it's all about the works of mommy, then they'll never get to God, and God said he's not going to have anyone before me. So what I had to do is I had to step back and I had to start being more disciplined. And and like I had to start saying no. And even now, I mean, they're like really still young, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I had
Mm-hmm.
to stop trying to overcompensate for maybe like the absence of my mom or the absence
Mm-hmm.
of their father, or
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like I was
Mhm,
trying to
mhm,
be that mother that
mhm,
was going above and beyond, because I was still dealing with the pain of my mother. So I would ask myself, okay, Kendra, at this age, what do you think you wanted? When
mhm,
really and truthfully, I wouldn't be the woman I am if I had the mama I wanted. You know what I mean?
mhm, mhm, mhm. I said with with me being adopted and my
I didn't know
biological.
that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. I said this. A lot of people don't know that because that was one of the things um that was one of my mommy issues.
Right.
Um, so it took me a long time to really grow in that and grow past that. But I mentioned that because of the foundation and the grounding that I got from my adopted mother, and then when I lived with my biological mother, because of I learned how to survive because those were two separate worlds. It made me who I am. I wouldn't have the foundation and certain things if I hadn't have got that, but I also wouldn't have this tenacity and the go-getter and the grind and the know how to survive if I didn't get that as well. So
Exactly.
everything that we do go through, it does shape us, whether it's good or bad. And also with our children, saying you were thinking about what would you want at this age, and you wanted to give your children everything that you could possibly give them because
Mhm.
of that overcompensation. I
Right.
did mention earlier in the show now, and I when raising my son, I would now sometimes one of my aunts, she would say, I raised like you raised that baby like military, and I was so hard on him and this, that, and other. Yes, I was. Yes, I was. For one, because I worked in the prison system for so long, I knew what I didn't want him to do, how I
Exactly.
didn't want him to turn out. But at the same time, I knew what it was like not to have. Instead of just now, I gave him, but instead of giving, I did a lot of being. I tried to be at everything and support. See, well, that was one of the things that I didn't get.
Support.
I didn't get that support.
Yeah, me
And I
neither.
would often say, where would I be if
Hmm.
I
Yes,
had
ma'am.
the mother
Yes, ma'am.
that I am? I
Yes.
could have gone to the Olympics. I could have been a singer already. I
Yeah.
could have done this. I didn't let it make me bitter. I tried to let it make me better, to
That's
be a
right.
better mother. And instead of making him what I wanted him to be, I support him in everything because my son is a techie. Now he is an athlete. He got that honest, but he a techie. Girl, I am not a techie. I am not
Right.
all things computer, but he is ones and zeros. You hear me?
Right.
I support him. I support him in everything, and that's what it's about. I want to talk about Dream Chaser, the visionary, and I think that's so befitting because for everything that you have gone through, you never lost your vision. And
Mm.
look where when people didn't believe,
You
that's
digging
a
deep
show
tonight.
by
You
itself.
digging deep tonight, cuz.
When people didn't believe, I mean, because now I don't think we knew each other when I was living in Dothan.
Mm-mm. I think
Um,
you had moved to Montgomery already.
yes,
Yep.
but I've seen you. We've seen each other,
Yes. We actually saw each other at Cronona's thing when she had it at Westgate. You
right?
sung. Mm-hmm.
But we've seen each other do this thing called life
Yes.
when nobody supported what we were doing.
Yes.
And it's almost, and we are not Jesus, but I understand the concept where he was not accepted in his own country. you
Yeah.
you kind of went through the same thing.
Oh yeah. I'm still going through the same
Well,
thing.
I ain't want to say that,
Oh yeah,
but
I'll say it. I'll say it. I'm still going through the same thing. Um, to be honest, when you say, you still kept your vision, let me tell you, my vision has been the hardest thing for me to get. My self-value, my self-worth was literally, I just started believing in myself, believe this or not, last year. I just started believing in myself. I just started seeing myself as being a person worthy of what it is that God has for me. Because even before, when people would prophesy to me and people would tell me these things about myself, I could not accept it because I didn't see it. So
Mhm.
even though it was a good word, if the word doesn't match your worth, it doesn't even count. It's like
Yeah,
bouncing off of a wall. It's like somebody talking to a wall because I couldn't even agree with it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I never even really had a vision up until last year. And then I literally took control over it and said, okay, this is what I want to do. This is who I am on my 35th birthday, which was on July 3rd. And local support, I can even do my like analytics and stuff like that on each
Mhm.
thing. Dothan was like the third from the bottom. Like they was number 7 out of 10. Now they're not even on there.
Mhm.
And me still being in Dothan, I no longer depend on Dothan or my local support to get me where God is gonna, what I'm saying, take me.
Absolutely.
So before I was, what I'm saying, that person that be like, oh, Dothan don't do this. People right here don't support you, your own family, And God was like, why are you worried about them? Why? But it was because I still had a small mindset myself to where
Mhm.
I was still only considering myself to only need the support, to have the support from local people, when
Mhm.
God was letting me know that it was so much bigger than where you are, that your
Mm.
outreach and your nations are so much bigger than this. And so now I have people reaching out from Barbados,
Mhm.
Africa, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, these
Mhm.
are places that I never even dreamed about going, but they're actually having me on their mind. So for
Mhm.
anybody out there that's thinking about chasing a dream, anybody out there that's thinking, about, having a vision and not losing it, I have literally let go of myself. I have literally like said, God, whatever you want to do, I, to be honest, I don't even have a vision. And I know that may sound weird, but I
Mm.
no longer have a vision. I'm so sold out on, okay, God, like whatever He tell me, whether it makes sense or it don't. Like at first I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a boutique, right?
Mhm.
Boutique didn't work. Boutique didn't work. And I was thinking like that was it, right? Then when I started thrifting, that's what took me there. And I'm like, hold on,
Mhm.
wait. Thrifting and not a boutique, right? So God
Mhm.
was like, no, all you have to do is listen and don't go after popularity. Don't go after what you see
Mm.
do. You create. You don't don't copy Kendra, only create. You
Right.
can't be the creator. So every day the vision may change. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like God said,
You have to do what he leads you to do.
exactly. And like the way he leads you to do it, you know?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
I had this conversation. I had this conversation. I might have had this conversation yesterday. She probably listening, but I know I had this conversation earlier this week. There were some things that God has led me to do, just in recent years. It was crazy. It looked ridiculous,
Mhm.
but because I was obedient to what He said do, it put me in a position and it allowed other doors to open. It allowed other things to happen that I was not even thinking of doing. And
Right.
but we have to let go of all of that. The reason when you said the word didn't line up with the word, your word, that's a word by itself. You know, you receiving all of this word, all of these affirmations, all of this over your life, but because your self-worth, because you didn't feel a certain way about yourself, you couldn't receive it. So
Mhm.
all of this word is hanging over your life. Just Kendra was hanging over your life.
Mhm.
Everything thrifting was hanging over your life, but you couldn't get there because of your self-worth.
Yeah.
And that's called being stuck. That's what I was talking about earlier for those that have been watching the entire show. That's what I call being stuck. Being stuck in your situation where you are in the mind frame that you're in, and you can't get what's for you to get or get out of it because you're stuck in it. But when you fought past that, when you started relying solely on God and what He had, and stopped looking everywhere else, your self-worth came up. You started believing in you, and that word started coming into fruition.
Exactly. Exactly. Because let me tell you, December of 2021, I didn't have a dollar to even buy my kids a Christmas present. I didn't have a Christmas tree, okay, like to put a present up under. And I was literally in that place where I was like, okay, God, because I actually lost my job in June. So I had been looking for jobs, could never find nothing. I'm like, God, this never happens to me. Like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And I was on unemployment. I was getting like $230 a week, okay, rent by itself 750. Okay, like
Mm-hmm.
it was just crazy. Single
Mm-hmm.
mother, and I say
Mm-hmm.
that twice because I'm a single mother without a mother, and I literally like have to take care of my children by myself. Like I'm a
Right.
single mother. So with that being said, I was actually in that hard place. So where I was like, my kids ain't gonna. It's like not even gonna have a Christmas. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And God, somebody called me and was like, "Hey, Kendra, are you at home? Because do you have all the kids' stuff?" And I was like, "No." And they was like, "Well, how much do you need?" And I was like, "I don't know, $100." They was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna come bring it to you in the morning." They brought me $200, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my aunt called me. She was like, "Kendra, where you at?" I was like, "I'm at home." She was like, "Come over here and get this Christmas tree." Long story short, I did not make a post. I didn't say nothing. I just kept my posture in prayer. And even though that was one of the toughest things for me in that season of my life, I continued to pray and I continued to just be like, okay, God, I don't even know what you want, like hands up. And we would give me the idea about thrifting and about doing these videos, even unemployed. He was like, just do them, just do them. And these ideas, I would just get in front of my camera, in front of my phone, and I would just go with them. And I would just go with them, and I would go with them. And Christmas, my children still have enough stuff. Like they have presents that they haven't even opened, but
But
God,
God.
but literally, God showed me in that season that first of all, I'm a good father. Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
can't like you got to stop comparing me to your earthly father. Okay,
Mm.
and then I need you not to feel bad about the mother that you are, or to compare yourself to the mother that you had.
Mm-hmm.
And in this time, He showed me that literally that He could take care of me and that I was so worthy and so valuable that I could have a thought and somebody would give me a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Like that literally I will supply all you need. And so in those like in that moment, I began to trust God like never before. So then this job I had applied for like 3 months ago, called me, and literally my start date for the job I work at now, which is 5 Star Credit Union, I got my first Facebook payout of $4,500 the same day I started.
He does like only he can.
And he was like, Kendra, I want you to know that you are worth this. Like, when I see you putting forth that, like, when I see you chasing that dream,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like, when I see you letting go of what you wanted or how you thought it was
Mm-hmm.
going to be, I can bless you. So,
Wanting
in those
better
times,
instead of being bitter.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Like, Kendra, I can show you who you are. I can show you your worth. So in those moments, he showed me that I was worth taking care of, taking care of. He
Mm-hmm.
showed me I was worth his love. He showed me everything I needed to see that I had struggled with for 34 years of my life.
Mm.
Like, I
Mm.
never saw myself as being worthy of being a wife. You
Mm.
know, I
Mm-hmm.
never saw myself worthy of being a mother myself because I had
Mm-hmm.
so many doubts, and I never seen people,
Mm.
and I never seen people, raise a family. So
Mm-hmm.
all of these words that I was getting, even concerning a husband, I didn't receive. I didn't know how to receive that. Like, who's gonna really love me? You know what I'm saying? Because
Mm.
who's gonna really, accept me? And then after having children, I was like, now who gonna want me with 2 kids?
Mm.
Who gonna
Mm.
want that? Ain't Kendra, ain't nobody gonna want you with 2 kids.
But that's
Like,
how
this
the
is not,
enemy was. That's how the enemy will play on your mind and
yeah.
have you in a position of that's a position of being stuck. That's when depression starts slipping in. Earlier in the show, I made a comment and I said I was going through things, and people around me had no idea what I was going through. Just because, like you said, you kept your posture. Just because you kept your posture doesn't mean that you weren't going through.
Now listen, the pain is what allowed me to keep my posture.
And
Because
oh, I
because
understand.
yeah, literally, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh,
without that
I
pain,
understand
you'd be
completely.
like, Lord Jesus, you know what I'm saying? Like, your
Yeah,
whole posture would have shifted, because maybe I would have thought that it was all about me. Maybe I would have been, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But God in the pain kept me with the posture.
yeah,
It really did.
yeah. And it's like it's almost like you want to give up, but you don't have give up in you.
Nope. You right about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
then
understand.
like, your situations give you all of this confirmation to give up. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm,
saying? Like,
mm-hmm,
they come
mm-hmm.
in and like co-sign on that. Like, you know what, girl? Yep, give up. You know, they will literally come in and co-sign, like, no credit check needed. No, like, none of that stuff is necessary. Like, you don't even need a down payment, baby. They will come in and co-sign for you. Your situations, your
Yep.
past, your whatever will come in and co-sign and be like, yeah, you should
Mm-hmm.
give up. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I really think that. And you'd be like, nah, I'm good on that. I'm good on
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk the man in the mirror.
that. Ooh. The man in the mirror, all about self. The man in the mirror is really all about you. Because sometimes I think we always focus on each other,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very rarely that we go to the mirror and talk to that person in that mirror and say, and it's great for me to get on here and compliment you. It's great for me to believe in you. But if it's actually false, and this is something else I had to realize, like, God was like, if I tell you love your neighbor like you love yourself, right? If you don't really love yourself, your love for her is false, Kendra.
Now let me take a pause right here before you go a little bit further. For everyone that is watching and um Queen Mother, I see your comments. I'm gonna mention them in a minute. For everyone that is watching on both platforms, Kendra and I did not discuss anything prior to this show.
We did
We
not.
had no matter of fact, she was just coming on when she came on.
Literally.
Some of the things you are saying and you have said are some of the same things I mentioned in my own way earlier tonight. So we did not. So if you hear it again, we did not discuss.
We did
It's
not.
when life happens. I truly mean life happens to us all.
Yes.
Go on, talk about the man in the mirror.
So the man in the mirror, that chapter was solely all about you facing you. And those times where I had to come and I had to talk to Kendra and I had to say, yeah, you can actually go on about everybody else. You can include your mom, your dad, you're this, you're that, you're this. But why don't you ever confront you? Let's just solely talk about you. Like, you could be quick to bring up what they did, but what are you doing? What are you doing to change you? Like, what are you doing to do something different than what you've done? Like, you got some other people lying, but how many times have you lied to yourself? How many times have you promised to do better by you and you didn't do better? Like, let's go and talk about the man in the mirror. Let's go and face her. And
Let's look at yourself.
that was tough.
Yeah.
Like, naked, like
Yeah.
your ugly truths. Like,
You mentioned that. You said that in your book. It's like just taking off everything and looking in the mirror and seeing your soul. And I mentioned sometimes we have to deal with our own mess.
yes.
We can't help anybody else. We can't, don't worry about forget. We have to deal with our mess to get up out of the situation. And we got to look at us. And to
Yeah.
me, I felt like that's what man in the mirror, like you said, self. I'm gonna take a quote here. He said, while attempting to impress people publicly, never forget about the people that have been there for you privately.
Yeah, because sometimes we get so big on our friends and our mentors and all of these people when sometimes you forget about your auntie that's going to show up and cook. You forget about, you know what I'm saying, your children who have been there, who have had to take the back seat while you focus on your dreams, while you work on those goals. So
Mhm.
it's actually great to do all of this for these public people, but you cannot forget about the people that's there for you in private. You can't forget about the people that you running all your stuff by. Like, do you think this is a good idea? You know what I'm saying? What about this over there? Kid, you go pick up the, you know what I'm saying, my son from practice. We get sometimes so busy focused on the big that we kind of allow the small things to slip through the cracks. And so for me, I had to go back and really thank the people that never I had to go back and I had to thank the people that never needed a thank you.
So I want to bring up somebody. Um, and I don't want to get emotional about this. Only certain things make me emotional. I don't want to get emotional about this. I feel that we had a mutual person in our life,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time you and I didn't know each other, and you wouldn't know this because you didn't know me at the time, but she was to me what she was to you when my son was almost your son's age. Tamika Walker.
Oh man, I did not know you was about to go
I
there.
wasn't planning on. I
Okay,
wasn't.
okay.
Okay, I said I didn't want to get emotional, so I
No,
wasn't planning. I had no, I just didn't even have. It just when you said that, thanking the people that didn't need a thank you. Um, Tamika, my baby was Tamika baby. I worked in the prison. I worked at night, and I needed my job because I was doing it on my own,
right.
and I would be on my way to Clio to the prison, and she would keep him at night for me. I would drop him off on the way,
Mm.
and she would get him like he was hers.
Yes.
You know, my baby. She took him with Tempest, and just like he was hers.
Mm.
Not and we met because we worked together at a doctor's office. But when I tell you I needed a person, God sent a person, and it was so crazy when I saw the relationship that you all had because she was that person to me when my baby was almost the same age.
Mm.
I understand. He's like, God will send you people. She was one of those people that didn't want to thank you because she was
No,
doing it out of her heart.
no, she did
But
not.
she was one of those people you would have to just go back. You know what? Thank you.
Yes.
Because you didn't have to do this. You didn't have to be there. You just didn't.
Yeah.
We weren't even related. We met through a job, but it was like blood couldn't be thicker.
Yeah. Yeah. We wasn't related either.
Yeah.
And when I tell you that people like Tamika, my baby was 5 weeks old when he started going with Tamika. I was, like I said, that mother that was working part-time at Dillard's. No, I was actually out of Dillard's at that point. I met a week before Tamika started getting Legend, because my kids are only 10 months apart. I had literally called my sister in Arkansas and I said, Keshana, I'm about to leave this house. And she was like, What do you mean? And I was like, I'm about to leave. Like, I can't stay here anymore. Like, I don't know why this baby keep crying. And I got two babies. I'm doing it by myself. And I was at like I was at like a nervous breakdown. Like, between my kids, I lost 50 pounds.
Mm.
And I was at the lowest point in my entire life after I had my son. Tamika came over there to get her makeup done. And that's how she ended up getting with Legend. I know Tamika, I had gone out with Tamika because Tamika worked with one of my good friends, Catherine. That's how I met Tamika. I did temp prom makeup, all of that. We all started hanging out then, way before I had kids. Um, but she started to get Legend when he was 5 weeks old. 5 weeks. She kept Legend every weekend up until she passed away. Legend was in 2 months, 3 months. Well, he was about to turn 2. And literally, Tamika walked me through that process. And
Mm.
I tell people today that want to be my friend, that want to hang out with me, she has set such a high standard of what
Mm.
friendship is that it makes me afraid to be somebody's friend.
There's nobody like her.
Nobody like her. And I have literally been struggling over a year and a half now with allowing people to get close to me, with allowing people to be my friend, because she was literally one of those people that never needed anything. But I'm so grateful that even though
Mm-hmm.
she didn't need anything, I would go out of my way for her.
Mm-hmm.
I threw her a surprise party her last birthday, not knowing it was going to be her last birthday.
Mm-hmm.
We went and celebrated when she passed her life insurance class. We went and
Mm-hmm.
got her some balloons. The Sunday before she passed away, we had took her a new purse. We took her some nice sandals for her new job. We had no knowledge of this, but she taught me how to love people while you still had the opportunity. And
Mm.
that relationship, for those people that don't need it, you should do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what actually gets me the most. So sometimes, those people may not need anything big, but it doesn't mean that you can't do the small, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
so,
Right.
with that, that's why I said, like, I think so often. And for me to have left her with giving her something, her to be fine, up and at it, and then
Mm-hmm.
2 days later, me see her in a hospital bed, dead, was it was life changing. I couldn't cry. I didn't know how to. I still don't know how to process it all. I still haven't really like cried about it. Um, I don't know, but I made sure that I loved her. So I think sometimes tears come, we are emotional people, but for me, I can't I can't I can't be like I'm not hurt by it, because I
I,
truly feel like she was one of those people, just like you said, that was an angel that was
yep.
sent to you at a certain time frame,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
just had to love her and appreciate her
Mm-hmm.
while she was there. And
Absolutely.
I believe that God brought her here just to be who she was,
Yeah.
an angel, and she was literally definitely assigned to the people that needed that love of a mother when they
Mm-hmm.
needed, because
Absolutely.
that's what she was.
Absolutely. Um, I absolutely 100% agree with that because that was just her.
It was.
She didn't want anything.
Mm-mm.
But and I like how you said, um, it has taught you how to love people while they're still here. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I also understand wholeheartedly when you said that, and it's not. I don't. I've come to grips with this, and this. I don't believe it's a bad thing when you have not been able. Sometimes not being able to grieve can be a bad thing, but when you're in such a place, I do believe that not being able to grieve in certain situations is not a bad thing, because that's how you were with her was how I was with my grandmother,
Right.
because I was, and people, even when I make a post now, people think I'm sad and I'm, grieving and this and everything. But I'm really, I miss her, but because I had done right by her.
There you go. That's it right there.
Because everything
Mhm.
that she told me to do, if I haven't done it, I've done it.
That's
I'm
right.
working on doing it.
That's
It's in the
right.
process. It's going to
Mhm.
get done. But anything she ever asked of me, anything that if she thought it and I got an inkling
You
that
better
she
come
want,
on here. That's
yes.
right.
I
That's right.
mean,
So you at peace.
I was, when she passed, and I was her last Christmas, which we didn't know was going to be her last Christmas. Our whole family, I was like, we need to go to see grandma. Everybody come and this and that. And, she told me a lot of things, not knowing that was going to be our last Christmas. Um, but the last time I saw her, which was 2 weeks before she passed, I think she knew. And when I left Mississippi, I knew. I knew. And
Mhm.
she knew. Because I was not planning to go, but just something in my spirit says go see her, don't tell anybody, gave me the day, the whole 9 yards, and she was in the
Mhm.
hospital. And even my son, when we go, he usually stays with his grandparents. He did not, he didn't want to, he wanted to stay the night in the hospital with her.
And you
And
know
that
what?
was our
Legend
last.
and Legend did not want to leave Tamika. That like last time she kept him, she literally had to wait and postpone her nails, her whole nail appointment to keep Legend again because he refused to leave her.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. I truly believe that when you're at peace with the situation and you've done right by people, I mean, we're going to all be hurt, but I
That's
think God really graces us with a certain peace.
that's right.
Yeah.
I agree
Um,
100%.
Now lastly, I want to mention Alpha and Omega. Um, Better or bitter. Because one thing that I have, I often talk about is I always wanted to be better and not bitter. I didn't want to be bitter. I didn't want to be cynical. I didn't want to be spiteful. I didn't want to be any of those things that I saw around me. I wanted to be better than
Yes.
any, and I wanted to raise my child better. And your last chapter is Alpha and Omega, better or bitter. God can't bless you with better if you continue to hold on to what's making you bitter. You have to let go of comfort in order to embrace elevation. And before you really get into that, when you say you have to embrace comfort and God can't make you better, I believe in the unmuting and the becoming unstuck and the letting go of the hurt, the letting go of the pain. We have to deal with ourselves. We have to in order for God to get us in that position, and then you have to move out of your comfort zone. Talk about the moving out of your comfort place to embrace that elevation.
Well, to actually for me there, we all like to be the victim, right? Because everybody want to be
Hmm.
right. So like it's really, really, really cool for me to want to be right. Like above anything, we all want to be right. We all want
Right.
to feel justified. We all want vengeance. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it always makes us feel better to actually be that victim and to say, well, I did this because of this, or well, they did this to me and they wasn't there
Hmm.
for me. And God was like, okay, Kendra, all of these things right here are bitterness. But are you going to use those things and allow them to make you better or to make you bitter? So with that being said, I think the most powerful thing you can make, as a human being is a decision, because we are so indecisive. We are so that like, well, I know I want this, but I'm gonna have to do that. Or how do I let go of where I am? And
Mm,
so for me, I had to make a decision first to be better. And then
mm,
I had to look at the things that was making me bitter and be willing to leave where I was that was
mm-hmm,
causing my bitterness, meaning that I had to leave different relationships. I had to let people go. I had to reintroduce myself to people, right?
mm-hmm,
Because when people think they know you, the hardest thing for you to do is come back to the people that already think they know you and have you
mm-hmm.
figured out. And
Right.
so I had to tell people, like, you don't know me because I don't know me. I'm still
Mm-hmm,
getting to know me. So I
mm-hmm,
can't allow you. And like, I really had to step outside of my box. Sometimes we say all the time, these are my people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
these are my people, but I couldn't allow my circle to keep me a square. Like, I couldn't allow you to keep me in this box.
Right.
And I couldn't allow you to pat me on the back when I cheer me on in my bitterness. I couldn't allow you to say, yeah, you know what? That's right. Sometimes we don't need a rub on the back. We need to push forward.
Yes.
And so I really had to let go of the people that was okay and comfortable with me being comfortable with
Mm-hmm.
bitterness. And what that looked like to actually get elevation. And elevation is not anything that a lot of times you can see externally, but it's something that you have to deal with internally first. So I
Absolutely.
had to let go of those things. And I'm not gonna tell you no stories on this live tonight. It was hard to let go of the people that you thought that you would grow old with, the friends that you thought
Mm-hmm.
you would be friends with forever. So stepping out of my comfort zone to get to where I am now. And when I say that, I don't mean that from a financial position. I don't mean that from a physical position, but a mental and a spiritual like state of mind has been
Mm-hmm.
the best thing I've ever done. To step out of the four walls of church and then to learn something different. You know what I'm saying? To really
Mm-hmm.
go against my
Mm-hmm.
queen and to
Letting
grind
go.
and to find out kingdom was hard, but the elevation in it has been everything for me.
Letting go of religion and gaining a relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to go against, what they said and what I was
Mm-hmm.
taught and what I think and what I thought, and you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying, to just
Mm-hmm.
leave all of those things, to
Mm-hmm.
literally forget those things which are behind you, like
Mm-hmm.
Paul said, and
Mm-hmm.
to, what I'm saying, keep in mind what's forward and to
Mm-hmm.
go and to push towards the high calling
Mm-hmm.
was like the hardest thing. But that push in me was like, you have got to let go of being that person who, well, my mama was on drugs. Well, nobody taught me about credit. Well, I didn't know this about this. Well, I don't really know I don't really know my daddy and this. And I had to say, okay, but I do have a father. And
Amen.
regardless
That's
of what
right.
has happened, that does not stop the reason for me being here today. So letting go of bitterness was hard, but me making a decision to be better has been the greatest thing I've done. And there were some lonely times, and there were some hard times, and there were some broke times, and there were some broken times. But that has been the best thing that has ever happened to me, was to make a decision to choose better, and better is what's getting me to my destiny.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree with that 100%. Um, so I'm gonna put you in queue. I don't want you to leave, and I'm gonna do a recap. But before I do that, I want you to reintroduce yourself. I want you to. So this is Kendra's book, Painkillers. It can be bought on Amazon because that's where I got my copy from. And I want you to tell them where they can find you on social media. Cause baby, your beauty on a budget. Yes. I'm really gonna come down and go thrifting with you and
Come on, come on.
yeah, we
I
gonna
would
do a
love to
live or
have
something
you.
on thrifting because you know I like some
Yes.
fashion, girl.
Yes, I would love to have you. Well, I'm
Yeah.
Kendra. I am just Kendra. I say that because that right there releases people from, comparison and contrasting. I am just what you see. I'm just me. I'm just Kendra. I am on TikTok as I am just Kendra. Instagram, I am just Kendra. Facebook, I'm Kindra Trawick. That's Kindra. My book is on Amazon, or you can order it from me personally. I'll sign it and write you a little nice letter as well in the back of it. Painkillers is a book that was literally dedicated. I wrote that book. It's 53 stories, I think, in that book. It's just really and truthfully a story a week for you to just be able to read it, soak it in, write about it, find yourself in that, and to work on that for a whole week before you go into another one, but to find yourself in whatever chapter is necessary. And I named the book Painkillers, and I have to explain this. So people are like, why she do painkillers? Because painkillers, when people think whenever they take a Tylenol because they have a headache or whatever, Advil, ibuprofen or whatever, you actually take the painkiller. But of course, the painkiller is not healing you, but the painkiller is literally changing the it actually stops the nerve from getting to your brain to tell you that you're in pain. That's all a painkiller does. So a painkiller just changes the message that's going to your brain about what it is that it feels. So I named the book Painkillers because your healing has to come from God. But reading the book will actually change the message that you're giving to yourself about what has happened and the pain and the trauma that you've dealt with. So that's what the book is about. That's who I am. I'm just Kindra, y'all.
Well, listen, Kendra, I want to thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. So sorry for my tardiness.
Oh no, honey, I think it worked out perfectly because I
Good.
talked and I wouldn't have talked, so but some things I guess needed to be said. Everything happened for a reason. It's
It
all
does.
good.
It does.
Yeah, it's all good. So listen, I'm gonna put you in queue and come back. Don't leave, okay?
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to season 4, episode number 3 of UnMuted. Tonight, our guest was Kindra Trawick. As she introduced herself, you can find her on Facebook under Kindra Trawick. That is Kindra. You can also find her on YouTube. She's also on TikTok, Just Kindra. Instagram, is it Just Kindra? Instagram is Just Kendra as well. You can please, you all, this is really, really a good book. I do try to patronize when my guests come on and they have different literatures or whatnot, but this is really a good book. You can find it on Amazon, and like she said, I will make sure I come back and pin all of her information in the comments. I do want to do a little recap on some of the show, and this episode tonight was a little bit longer than usual, but I have a few people that made some comments that I do want Kendra to know, and I want to point out as well. Renee Butler said, I never thought that a child could possibly not have the relationship they need with God because they can go to mommy. It is absolutely the case. Very thought provoking. I'm glad that someone is getting something out of this, and then wanting better than wanting to be bitter. That is one of my staples that I live on. I wanted to be better more than I wanted to be bitter. So tonight we talked about being a mom with mommy issues, beating the odds. We discussed a lot of things. The first half of the show, I did a little open dialect regarding some of the issues that I've gone through, my mentality, my state of mind, and really, going through getting through the things and growing through the things that I had gone through in my life, beating the odds, letting what I had gone through make me a better person, not dwelling on everything that I had gone through in my life, but using that and allowing that to motivate me to be a better person and being the best mother that I could possibly be to my child, wanting him to be better, being better than me, making sure that my ceiling is his platform that he'll stand on and he'll grow from there, because that's what we as parents, we should want. We should want our children to be better than we are. That's what they're supposed to be. But fixing our mess, getting us right. If you never get the apology, if you never get the okay, if you never get the things that you thought you needed, it's okay, as long as you're okay with you. When we grow and we get through those, whatever the ailing points are, pulling ourselves out of the depression, pulling ourselves out of the embarrassment, letting go of all of the shame, letting go of the things that are keeping us stuck, and unmuting ourselves, allowing God to do the work on us, and we do our part as well. Kendra said something very profound. She made a decision, because we all have a choice. We have a choice to be bitter. We have a choice to be better. Make the decision on what you want to be. Do you want to be bitter? Do you want to hold on to what someone else did to you? Do you want to constantly play the victim? Or do you want to be better? Do you want to be made whole? Do you want to be okay with looking at the man in the mirror? Are you happy with you? See, when you're happy with you, you don't have to worry about hating on anybody else because you're happy with you and you can live your best life. That's beating the odds, regardless of what you've gone through in your life, regardless of how you grew up. As some of you can watch the replay. Some of you realize I didn't have the best beginning. I didn't have the best. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. I was adopted. I lived with my biological mother. I got a grounding, I got a foundation, but I also had to learn how to survive. But it made me who I am today. I made a choice to be better and not be bitter. Now, has everything been peaches and cream? No, it hasn't. I've gone through divorce. I've gone through this. I've gone through that, but I still strive. I want to be better than I want to be bitter. And I want to raise my child. I don't want to make him suffer from what I grew up with and what I went through as a child. No, that's my motivation. Being better, working through my mommy issues to be a better mother, to reach my purpose and raise a child to do the same. This has been season 4, episode number 3 of Unmuted. Being a mom with mommy issues, beating the odds. I am Felicia Franklin. I want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode. It will be uploaded on our Unmuted YouTube channel and also the Unmuted podcast that's on Spotify. Please go and like that. Share this live. Someone may need it. Watch the replay. Send it to someone in their DM, whatever you can. I want to thank you all for tuning in. You all, please be safe and have a wonderful night. It's been a